Okay, I was just waiting for the microphone to get caught up to me before I even started saying the word. Today's topic is about how fast I can move from place to place. But it's really not about that because I need to tell you that my name is Skeptical Spectrum, and now we can begin. It's about scientific writing and scientists writing books. Now, people who do empirical research, I would call scientists. So, like, for example, people who do psychological research, scientists. You can call people who do other kinds of empirical research scientists. But I was going to say it's not just like somebody who's a physicist, right? Um, so now physicists are into it too, though. And I need to keep this short because just to make you watch the whole thing before you realize you've even started watching it. So there's a discipline to writing scientific journal articles. There's a discipline to watching scientific journal articles. I know how to do them. Nobody else knows how to do them. You know what that sounded like? Somebody imitating a lawnmower. I don't even know what that was supposed to be, but there's a discipline, and you're not going to get published in very good journals if you don't follow that discipline and if you don't design really good research studies that are going to get some results that can fill a gap in information that we have not yet filled. So I'm trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of something like softer than psychology that doesn't seem like a science for many people. But basically, any time you have a question to ask that you'd like to have answered, and you can frame it in the form of an empirical research study by naming and defining all your terms, defining things in operational ways, like you take a concept like love and you define that in observable ways, measurable ways, and ways that if someone reads your definition, they will understand exactly what you are measuring. And then you show a correlation, and you might even show a correlation that you can claim is causal because you randomly apply this uh, predictive variable or causal, hopefully causal variable, to this other variable, which would be called the resulting variable, but that's not what we call it. Call it the second variable. And if it seems to be randomly applied to different people or whatever, and it seems to have a relationship with this, then and not with the control conditions, then you can say it is strongly suggested that this causes this result. Um, there's more to it though. I guess what I'm trying to say though is you have to for some research article journals you have to do a very good job just to first of all get your research project approved at an institute you're working at, or to get funding for it, which is a big deal nowadays because things like large sample studies of humans can cost some money, and other reasons because materials are expensive. Anyway, the more money you have, the better you can do certain types of experimental research, and the more it will apply and give you enough data to have a strong confidence in your results. Fast, like the Flash. And okay, so just let's just say to the point where okay, there's one reason to have some skepticism about really disciplined science, and that is that sometimes researchers do fraud. I think it's rare, but when you look at the numbers, it doesn't feel rare when you see the numbers. But compared to the massive amounts of research studies that are done and published in good journal articles, um, it's it's large enough to be of concern, but without the empirical disciplines put in place, there couldn't be a high standard against which to judge and even define what constitutes fraud. So, just for the sake of the video, we're going to call those legit and things that are fraud bad. And when we discover them, we punish people and we remove their articles and we retract and we try to publicize what's been retracted. And you can get a lot more journal articles for free than people ever could have in history because of the magic internet. And some journals, even prestigious journals, are allowing some of their best articles to be accessible to you without paying. And also, now you can pay for articles and they will give you the full text if they are not willing to give it for free. So, let me fast forward. Nowadays, and even before the internet and everybody having their podcasts and everybody having their viral YouTube videos, after a while, scholars would compile their research and their knowledge, and they will use it as source material to write books to convey all this knowledge to the public, right? But when they make these books, there becomes a new motive aside from being able to keep their jobs at the university they work at, and that is a profit motive. So they write a book, and lo and behold, it a lot of people love it, you know. And that's been going on since before I was a kid, before I was even born. And just sort of colloquially speaking, when you start to write for the public consumption, there's really actually no discipline except for what your publishers need your book to be for them to believe that it's going to sell. So after a while, what happens is that not always, but sometimes, a book written by a scientist or any kind of scientist or researcher, psychological, sociological, they all have slightly different disciplines too. Some of them don't have causal studies and stuff like that. They have to analyze things that are not under their control, so they can't set up causal studies. So all the various disciplines, evolutionary disciplines, some of them have to deal with the information they find as they excavate certain things and all that stuff. So anyway, but the point is, it's legit stuff. But when they start to have to publish and they realize that this becomes kind of their new career, they can start to make books that people will want to read, and that becomes the motive, not necessarily consciously, maybe consciously, more than the discipline that they're forced to um, adhere to when they were doing it for publication. Now, a lot of people continue to publish for and make research in a very disciplined way and continue to find new findings that are amazing and help the world and make us understand things a little bit better. And then their books some books are going to remain of high quality because some authors are just like that. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there is a motive to start to tell you things that you want to hear, or things that are just very interesting to read, or things that just blow your mind and make you question reality and everything like that. But simply for that blow your mind, question reality experience. So basically, they're trying to feed whatever needs to be fed for their books to sell. Again, this isn't nefarious and stuff. This is just human motivation. Um, I, I, yeah. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is when you start reading stuff from very accomplished people and it's telling you what you want to hear, just be careful. Read the opposite. When you see a video on YouTube that really frees your mind and tells you, yeah, I knew it. I just kind of sort of knew this and it really feels good to me. Well, pause and go look for somebody saying something in the opposite direction. Now, that can be very hard to do. For example, if I really have an understanding of this sort of, like, I'm political, belief in how to treat people. And there's a whole book over here that to me sounds like a hate filled book, maligning certain people. It's going to be very hard for me to get through that book. And so sometimes I'll get a book like that out of the library instead of buying it. And I'll try to leaf through it, and it's painful. Or I'll watch videos by that person or something. But really, in as much as you can tolerate it, look for books that oppose what you want to believe. I'm not saying you have to do a 50-50 split. I'm sure there are some people out there that are that disciplined. I'm not one of those people. I can't even to stay in the same place for a very long time. This video is a little longer than it's needed to be anyway, and you've got my point. So